will make one schedule. I will be using the schedule which is given in your text. Okay. This is what? Income. And this is your AD. Income we will take up like this. All right. And aggregate demand like this. Now this is a schedule, a table, in which we have taken income and AD. Now we need to see here the relationship between these two. Okay. We have to observe now what is happening in this schedule. And we are going to see certain observations. I will list down few observations from this. All right. First one. What is happening to these two? See here, income, it is increasing, right? As well as demand is also increasing. So we can say there is a positive relationship between income and AD. Second one. Observe this. What is given here in this? Income is 0, right? So, income is 0. That means we don't have any income. But, we can see here some demand, aggregate demand, right? Which is AD is 30 here. Now what is this? We say this is a minimum level of demand, aggregate demand or expenditure. Demand is expenditure here, right? This is a minimum level of expenditure, which is meant for survival. Even if we don't have any income. If our income is 0, we need to survive, right? For that, there will be a minimum level of expenditure. Now, if the income is 0 here, how come they will be able to spend? So we say that for survival, if income is 0, people will use their past savings that they have accumulated in past, or what they will do, they will go for this. They will borrow from others because they have to survive. Is that clear? So, second observation is this. When income is zero, there will be always a minimum level of expenditure. In next chapter, you're going to study about this again, and we call this one as by different names. Okay, that I'll say in your next chapter. Third one. What is happening here? 40 and 40. Income is 40, expenditure is 40, right? Okay. So, income 40, expenditure, that is AD, is also 40. Is there any savings here? Do we see any savings here? No, right? Because whatever income a person has, he's spending this entire income. So he's not saving anything. Saving in this will be zero. Fourth one. Now, we saw increase in income, right? So till up to here, it shows equality between these two. Now, as income rises, or we can say at higher levels of income, what happens to AD? AD will lag behind. AD will slow down. The reason why AD will lag behind increase in income is as people income increases, they will start saving. So here comes saving. People will start saving. So because of this, AD will lag behind. Is that clear? Okay. All right. So this is just a few observations made on the basis of this AD schedule. All right? Okay. Now next one is, by using this schedule, we are going to study about AD curve. All right. So the next topic is aggregate demand curve. Now, what is this aggregate demand curve here? So this AD schedule. Now we are going to see AD curve. All right. What is this AD curve? We can say it is a diagrammatic presentation of, very simple, AD schedule. Is called as AD curve. Now, what is this AD schedule? AD schedule shows AD corresponding to different levels of income. Different levels of income. All right. Now we have to draw the diagram on the basis of this data. And then observe we need to observe the diagram. On the basis of it, we need to list down certain observations from it. All right. Okay. So, AD curve. So we have two axes. OX axis and OY axis. Here we will take up income. So we start like this. And on OY axis, we will take up AD. Right. Okay. Straight away, income 0 is 30, then 20, here, here, like this. This is your AD. All right. So we'll put up here somewhere. Make it like this. Okay. Hope it's coming straight here. All right. This is AD. Now, we'll see this and I will start listing down the observations, okay, that I'm getting in this. First one, AD starts from 30. So AD starts from where? Starts from 30. What is this? AD 30 shows when income is 0. What it shows? When income is 0, AD is 30, right? So this is what I said before when describing about AD schedule. It is a minimum level of expenditure that the people must and should incur for their survival. All right. Second one is, now what you have to do is you have to draw 45-degree line which goes in between x-axis and y-axis. All right. So I'll be doing here like this. Is it coming straight? Please make it straight, okay? Okay. Draw a 45-degree line in between these two, x-axis and y-axis. This line is a line of reference. What is it? It is a line of reference to refer something. All right. Now see here, any point on this line, okay, any point on this line will show you something. Okay, it will show what? Equality between these two. Or we can say, just example, quantity of this one is equal to quantity of AD. This one. So I said any point on this one will show the same magnitude of this one and this one. Is that clear? Okay. Now, in this 45-degree line I have drawn, what is the significance of this 45-degree line in this? This is to show equality between y and AD. What is it? To show the equality between y and AD, which happens where? At this point. Right? So we will take up like E here. This point is called as break-even point. What is this break-even point? What is happening at this point? We can see here what is happening. Y is equal to AD. So this 45-degree line is to show the equality between these two. Is that clear? So what we get here? AD is equal to y. Is that clear? Okay. So what is this break-even point? Again, break-even point is that level of income where income is equal to AD. So this is called as break-even point here. All right? Okay. So at this point, what is happening? Income is 40 as well as AD is also 40, which we have seen here. Third observation from it. Now we need to see prior to this point, that is here. Okay, this one portion. It shows what? When we look at the diagram, it shows AD is greater than y here. Right? Okay. So we can say prior to E point, we are getting AD is greater than income. This happens so before this one. So that means this upper one. So initially when income increases, AD will be greater than income. People will be consuming more. Right? Then fourth observation we have, after this or beyond this, what is happening here? At point E, it is equal, right? Now after this or beyond this, AD becoming lesser than Y. Is that clear? Okay. So beyond point E, what is happening? AD lags behind income. I said before, this is because of what? At higher levels of income, people will start what? Saving. Saving will come here. All right. Okay. Okay. So this is how we can go for description on aggregate demand curve. Is that clear? Okay. Now, next one is, we will go for this components. All right. Remember, in the meaning of aggregate demand, I have written people. That are planning to spend on the purchase of final goods and services, right? Also, I have said that people, I will consider certain sectors here. So, now we are going to study about those people who are planning to spend on the purchase of final goods and services. All right. So we go for components of aggregate demand or expenditure. Now we will classify the components of AD into two categories. First one will be AD in closed economy and AD in open economy. All right. Further classification again in this. When we are talking about closed economy, we have two sector closed economy and three sector closed economy. Two sector, which comprises of only two sector in this. One is household sector. Another one is producer sector. Okay, so two sector comprises of household sector and producer sector. Now see here, household sector make expenditure. Okay, we call this expenditure as consumption expenditure. All right. So I said household sector will make expenditure for what? For consumption purpose. We call it as consumption expenditure. Or we can say, add this one, it is called as household consumption expenditure. Or we can also say private consumption expenditure. Is that clear? Okay. What is this household consumption expenditure or private consumption expenditure? So this one is expenditure that household are planning to incur on what? On the purchase of final goods and services in an economy during 1 year is called as household consumption expenditure. I said in the beginning, X and T, right? Okay, so it's a planned expenditure that household will incur on the purchase of final goods and services in an economy during 1 year is called as household consumption expenditure. And this one is indicated by, I'll write it here, C. Household consumption expenditure, it is indicated by C here. All right. Okay, one thing. Then come to the second sector under two-sector closed economy is producer sector. Producer sector will make expenditure, or producer sector will incur expenditure. Okay, and this expenditure is called as investment expenditure. Expenditure made by the producer will be called as investment expenditure. And this one is represented by I here. All right. Now, what is this investment expenditure? Again, this is also a planned investment. Okay. So, same thing, expenditure that producer are planning to incur on such goods and services I'll write here up on the board. Services which will cause capital formation. So see here, what is this investment expenditure? Expenditure that producers are planning to incur on such goods and services which will cause or which leads to capital formation is called as investment expenditure. So under this one, we will take up examples. Very simple. Household. So we come under the category of this one. So whatever expenditure we are making on the purchase of final goods and services for consumption purpose, right, is this expenditure. Whereas producer, I have written here, expenditure on what? On such goods. I'll take up example of machinery items. So we can say investment on what? Machinery items are fixed assets. And those things will cause what? Capital formation. Is that clear? Okay. This is regarding two-sector closed economy, household expenditure as well as producers' expenditure. Now, under same, we have three-sector closed economy, which comprises of government sector, so in three-sector closed economy, we have household sector, producer sector, and then government sector. Okay, so I'll write all. So we have producer sector and household. So household C, this is I, and government sector, it is indicated by G. All right? Okay. Now we need to study about government sector. Government sector it has two types of expenditure. One is called as consumption expenditure. We'll write here government consumption expenditure and government investment expenditure. Again, this is a planned expenditure made by the government. Okay, so see here, government expenditure comprises of two types of expenditure. First one is government consumption expenditure. Another one is government investment expenditure. What is this government consumption expenditure? Again, expenditure on what? Expenditure on the purchase of final goods and services. Final goods and services for, see here, consumption. Whose consumption? I will use here collective consumption. Okay, government is incurring expenditure on the purchase of final goods and services, which is meant for collective consumption of the society. Is that clear? Okay, one thing. Second one is here, government investment expenditure. Examples: construction of road, schools, hospitals will be a part of government investment expenditure. Now, whether it is meant for consumption expenditure or it is meant for investment expenditure, whenever we say about the government, its motive is always for the welfare sake of the society. So I've said here, expenditure, both the expenditure are meant for the collective consumption of the society. Is that clear? Okay. Now see here, what is this government expenditure? Expenditure that the government are planning to incur on these two is called as government expenditure. Alright, okay. So like this, we are done with the components of AD in closed economy. Alright, now we go for AD in open economy. When we say AD in open economy, it has 4 sectors. It comprises of 4 sectors. Alright. Now these 4 sectors, I'll write here, are AD in open economy. Okay. Household sector, producer sector, government sector, and finally we have rest of the world sector. Row. Okay, AD in open economy. Now we need to see this rest of the world sector. This comprises of these two, X and M. This one is export. This one is import. Alright. And the difference between these two will make, so difference I'll write here, will make net export. Alright. Okay. Now we have already studied about what is this export and what is this import. Okay. Okay. So I said net export is the difference between export minus import, or difference between these two. This one will do what? It will increase AD, right? Okay, and this one will decrease aggregate demand, especially on domestically produced goods and services. And here, because of exports, AD increases for domestically produced goods and services. All right. Okay. Now, plant expenditure. Plant expenditure on net export is a part of AD. All right. So, these are the people. I said before in the meaning, these are the people, or these are the sectors that are planning to spend on the purchase of goods and services produced in an economy during 1 year will make the components of AD. All right. Now, see, AD has 4 components, right? So we will write it like this. AD has 4 components. One is C, that is household consumption expenditure, plus we have producer, which makes investment expenditure, plus we have government sector, G, incurring expenditure, then expenditure on net export. The summation of all the expenditure that these sectors are planning to incur on the purchase of goods and services will give us this one, aggregate demand, or we can say total expenditure, aggregate expenditure. All right. Okay. Now, this is all about AD and its component. So, a brief recapitulation. See now. The first one, we have seen the meaning of AD. What is it? So, we have to measure AD, right? To measure this AD, we have to look into the total expenditure by all this sector. That too on the purchase of goods and services during 1 year will make AD. Second thing I said is it's a planned expenditure. All right. Ex ante expenditure. It's not an ex post expenditure. All right. Then we have seen the behavior of AD. So what this behavior shows, when we are talking about the behavior of AD, it shows the relationship between AD and income. And this relationship I've shown you by using AD schedule as well as AD curve. So next one, AD schedule. What is this AD schedule? A table which indicates the relationship between AD and income is called as AD schedule. Then AD schedule we have seen in the form of table, observation also listed down. Then on the basis of AD schedule, I have drawn AD curve. Okay. So whatever explanation that we have seen under AD schedule, we need to go for the same in the AD curve. Then finally, discussed in detail about the components of AD. So people here refers to the sectors, right? So we have 4 sectors in this. And these 4 sectors has been categorized under these heads. That is AD in closed economy and AD in open economy. The first sector, that is AD in closed economy, 2 sector, and here 3 sector. 2 sector having producer and household sector, and household sector are planning to incur some expenditure, like same producer are planning to incur some expenditure. Okay, these 2. And then in the 3 sector closed economy, we have taken government. So government expenditure, planned expenditure. Then comes we have rest of the world sector. In that we have taken export and import. The difference between these 2 will cause net export. And the expenditure, planned expenditure on these 2 will be a part of AD. So the summation of all these sectors ex ante expenditure will give us what? AD, aggregate demand. Okay.